Welcome to the Western Bowel podcast series, with talks on traditional spiritual teaching and its application in the world today. The intention of the series is to offer something useful for those who are drawn to study themselves and engage practice on the spiritual path. New talks are posted twice each month. The content of the talks is for informational purposes only and not to provide any kind of counseling, medical, or professional advice. This podcast is titled, Can't We Just Have Fun? Seriousness, Humor, and Foolishness on the Path. The talk was given by Meaux on January 25th, 2025 via Zoom. Michelle is one of the managers of Ferme de Jutreau, an ashram in France. She provides translation for spiritual books, teachers, and workshops focused on personal and spiritual growth. In this talk, she discusses the need for humor and for incorporating something of the state of mind of the clown into spiritual practice. Michelle speaks about the clown's characteristics and how they have been helpful for practitioners to cultivate when too serious on the path. She notes that humor, especially about ourselves and our own contradictions, obviates self-importance and can feed our practice, open us, and lighten our spirit. Bringing lightness and humor into awareness is part of the presentation. She refers to her teacher, Lee Lozowick, during the talk. If there is benefit in this talk for you, please consider sharing the link to it or writing a review on social media or on one of the podcast platforms. Michelle Meaux.
Sometimes I would hear that you could do clowns workshops, and it was like, well, that must be fun, and maybe one day I will do it. But finally, there was this class, and I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And it was a blast. I really had fun. For 2 days, I laughed and I played, and I was just, oh my God, this feels so good to just play and forget about serious Dharma stuff. Take a risk in just having fun and letting myself be for a minute, or for 2 days, actually. So I decided to continue because I got caught by the bug. I've been reading some books, very interesting, on the art of comedy. By the end of March, I will have done 60 hours of practicing being a clown. So that's a lot of hours. And at the same time, it's barely scratching the surface. There's a lot to say and a lot to experience in that area. I would like to share with you some of the material. And once it's over, we can talk. But I would like to start with that to give us a base, to give us also questions and make us curious. I feel very curious about this world, excited and curious. It's unexpected for me. So I will go through one quote to another. It may not be all in line. I'm not an inline person anyway. And we'll start with Gurdjieff, who says, life is the art of encounters. La vie, c'est l'art des rencontres. I'm going to quote from two different books. One is the French book. It's a book written by a school of clown that I'm going to train in. I read it in one swoop. I really loved that book. And the other one is The Comic Vision and the Christian Faith. And also quoting from an interview from Moshe Cohen. Moshe Cohen is still a clown performer. He's pretty old now. And he was contacted by Bernie Glassman. Bernie Glassman was a Zen master who died. He was very famous, and he was known for working with his students in the streets. And at one point, he realized that his students and his students who were becoming teachers under his guidance and permission, transmission, were getting more and more serious and taking themselves seriously, like we all do pretty much, more or less. And so he became concerned because they were really taking themselves seriously, and they were teachers That's not a good combination. To be a spiritual teacher and take yourself seriously is not a very good combination. And he was wondering what to do about that. And he looked for this man and asked him if he could train with him. He didn't want to become a clown performer, obviously. He just wanted to learn some tools, to get some tools that he could give to his own students. And so he trained under this man, and then he invited Moshe Cohen to work with him and his students. And they did many things together, including going on Zen retreat, clowning in the streets. There are a number of interviews on YouTube of Moshe Cohen. And so some of my quotes will be from this interview. So anyway, I quote from Voyage sur la diagonale du clown, says, clowns cultivate a love for play, encounters, rencontres, irreverence, and freedom. I'll talk also a little bit about my experience on stage in a clown workshop. What we do is basically improvisations. The clown wears a mask. It's called the tiniest mask in the world. It's just a nose. The clown puts his nose and possibly a costume or some clothes that he wants to wear. It's not that he's going to perform being a clown. The clown comes alive and you don't know what's going to happen. So you enter the stage in a state of mind. The state of mind is that of the clown with a capital C. The clown is a state of mind. It's a state of being. And the whole time of the improv or of the performance is all about encounters, relationship with the audience, very much so. The clown wants to share with the audience what he or she is experiencing. So there's eye contact with the audience. It's very much like, okay, I have been a clown for 1,000 years, and for a few minutes, I'm going to tell you what it is to be a clown, how it feels. And I'm going to show it to you for the duration of my presence on stage. And then I will continue my way for the next 1,000 years. So it's very much contact and relationship with the audience, and contact in relationship with everything that is going to happen inside and outside. So I may arrive on stage not knowing what's going to happen, and then there is a piece of string on the floor, and I'm going to enter in relationship with that. Maybe as I enter in relationship with that, I feel all of a sudden kind of scared that I'm not funny or the mind takes over. So I'm going to be in relationship with that, with the mind taking over and trying to become a tyrant again. And then maybe I'm afraid of my mind and I'm going to play that. So I'm going to play, show, exaggerate, go 200% with whatever is going on for me and whatever I encounter in the space. The clown is a rope walker. C'est un équilibriste. I never know what's going to happen in the next second. And once that second is gone through, the past doesn't exist. So the clown lives totally in the present, always in the present. Doesn't have an aim, doesn't have any past history, is just a free spirit, I guess. Another quote. There is the invisible in our relationships, just as there is misunderstanding in our perceptions. Theater works to bring this invisible to the surface. And the clown is a specialist in this emergence, but he doesn't know it. He has no intention of denouncing or lecturing or saying anything universal. So the clown doesn't want anything beside what he wants in the moment. He doesn't have an intention or a goal or a mindset about what should happen. And so the clown is a mirror. He's going to mirror sometimes our foible. He's going to show his weaknesses, his passion, his power, his fear, his anger. And this is going to mirror something to us. But he never does it so that we see who we are. He never tries to convince us of anything or brings us somewhere. He's just being himself. And by being fully himself, he's being fully human. And that's why we like the clown, getting us to see our humanness in a non-judgmental way and laugh at our foibles, de rire à nos faiblesses, à nos échecs, à nos erreurs. The clown has utopias, utopie, which are his reasons for living, yet he is helpless, that is, without ammunition. So the clown is a poet. There is another quote, a clown who is not a poet is not a clown. At the same time, the clown is not fooled. He's essentially at a distance, both in reality and in the imaginary. She's talking about the clown performer here. But the clown is a poet. So he infuses life and everything he comes in contact with his own brand of foolishness, of poetry, of imagination. And he has no fear of going wherever he wants to go. So if he's so elated by something, just by a ray of sun coming in on his face, and all of a sudden he comes completely enamored with the sun and then falls on his butt and then hurt his butt by falling on it, it's all second after second. And I tell you, being a clown, entering a being clown is fun because of that. His eccentric and disruptive side makes his emergence within human communities quite stimulating. His naive and empathetic nature allows him to almost innocently address their ailments of human communities. The violinist plays the violin, the clown plays himself. The clown is a marginal, a nothing who is interested in everything. He moves diagonally between X and in. Let's focus on his eccentricity, his extravagance, his excesses, his exaggeration, his primary expressiveness. He is an adventurer of extremes. At the same time, he is in with his taste for the moment, the immediate, instability, uncertainty, and unpredictability. Coming from the outside, he enters the world. Before leaving again for another place, a utopia that concerns us and makes us dream. In short, the clown is an explorer of contradictions, a simpleton who reveals himself to be complex. The clown is an expanded humanity. Le clown est une humanité élargie. One can truly speak of an existential optimism in the clown that gives him a kind of nobility, or better yet, elegance in failure. This borders on wisdom. Indeed, the clown is not ashamed to be himself and to present himself to us as he is, profoundly human, vulnerable, and close to us. He touches us because, unlike the proud egos that education and society create, he humbly accepts his reality without making anyone else bear the weight of it. Defeated yet with the morale of a winner, he faces his trials without amenity or discouragement, until he find his solution in the tangle of his problems. So one thing that really inspires and excites me about this clown world is that it talks to me about the practitioner I would like to be. To have an existential optimism, which gives me a kind of nobility, or better yet, elegance in failure. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail in my practice over and over again, especially if I have made a vow of kindness, for instance. I will fail. Can I be elegant in my failure? Internally, I mean, or even externally. Can I ask for forgiveness? Can I reach my hand when I have made a mistake and I failed at my aim? Can I stay noble with my humanity? This borders on wisdom. The clown is not ashamed to be himself. The practitioner that I want to be is not ashamed to be herself and to present herself as she is, profoundly human, vulnerable, and like everyone else. To humbly accept my reality without making anyone else bear the weight of it. D'accepter humblement ma réalité sans la faire porter à quiconque. Facing my trials without amenity or discouragement. Faire face à mes difficultés sans mauvaise humeur, sans me décourager. Jusqu'à ce que je trouve ma solution dans le nœud de mes problèmes. Until he finds his solution in the tangle of his problems. It is through his way of experiencing failure that the clown shows his wisdom. Of course, his actions trigger all sorts of emotions, but deep inside him is a serenity, a detachment that fills us with ease, fills us, the audience. So we see the clown going through all kinds of things, but he always comes back to his feet. That's what this book is called, The Diagonal of Clown. The clown goes in diagonal. He doesn't go to the situation full on like a bull. He plays with his problem. He doesn't try to solve them. He plays with them until they solve themselves. I think it's Moshe Cohen who said that the clown plays with what he encounters when what he encounters is difficult. The question asked is, what would have happened to my talk if I had put my clown nose? And I don't think the clown would give a talk, for one thing. And so I'm not coming here as a clown. I'm just coming here as a practitioner who is discovering the art of humor and who is wondering how this art of humor can feed and mingle with her practice and lighten up something in her practitioner's spirit. So this is definitely a talk that I'm trying to do a linear way. Wearing my nose puts me into a completely different thing, and here is not the arena for that. I have an idea of what I want to offer. The clown doesn't. And so I will leave the clown to her freedom, and I will face my present challenge, which is to inspire you to really open the question on a daily basis. How would my life be if I had a little bit more humor about it? Can I cultivate that humor? Can I cultivate that lightness? Am I taking myself seriously? Who am I kidding all day long? I'm a very beginner in this question. It's very new to me because I may have a background of optimism in my character, but mostly I go through life in a very serious fashion, you know. what would my life be if I brought way more lightness to it, or even just a little bit, whenever emotions strike, for instance? Could humor help me find my own dignity and really rest in my own dignity? Am I losing my dignity when I take myself so seriously? I've been looking at my life, at our lives. We're all very committed. We are all very engaged and very good people. We are all very good people. And we are all trying really honestly and with all our hearts to understand ourselves, to understand each other, to deal with each other, to serve each other. And it's wonderful. But these days, I think we need to lighten up. We do. I need to lighten up. I need to have fun. Are we laughing? I mean, yesterday we had a laughing fit because we were trying to carry this huge box into a dumpster. And we were trying really hard. We felt like old women trying really hard to leave this, and we couldn't. And we had this moment of laughter. We couldn't stop laughing. And it felt so good. And that's what the clown does. I mean, that's what I do when I do my clown classes. I laugh. Moshe Cohen says that they have done some neurological studies and they discovered that lightness creates connection in the nervous system. Ils ont découvert que la légèreté crée des connexions neurales, crée des connexions dans le système nerveux, and creates and repairs connections. Well, this is serious stuff, because that would mean that lack of humor and heaviness destroys connections in the nervous system. Ça voudrait dire que la lourdeur et le sérieux détruit des connexions dans le système nerveux. Maybe there would be less Alzheimer in the world if there was more laughter and humor between people. I've read this study many years ago about Alzheimer. It was interesting that a lot of women suffering from Alzheimer's disease were the kind of women who knew a lot of unimportant details and were very attached to these unimportant details, like who was sitting with who at the table on the dinner 3 years ago. Who cares? And those women are prone to Alzheimer's. Wow. They can't separate between what's important and what's not. Everything is taken seriously. And it's not part of my preparation for tonight. I'm just thinking that right now. So, to go back to the text, lightness creates neural connection. Well, can we even consider practice without lightness, without humor? I think my guardian angel must sometimes laugh and sometimes cry, but love me very much because I'm trying so hard. I'm lovable in one way. We are all lovable. If there are high beings looking at us right now, what can they do but love us? Because we want so much to do good and be good. I've been thinking in preparing this talk about this idea of the horror of the situation. The horror of the situation. Oh boy, how serious can it be? You read this and you're like, oh my God. The fourth way people, they have a knack of making things go really serious. And it is. It is. We should engage fully in this work, which is about freeing oneself from the dictates of the machine and doing that by loving the machine. Wow. It should be fun. If you think of it like this, it's all about freedom, adoration. This is not a dreary stuff. So what's up with me that I bring such a dreary attitude to it? At one point I was thinking of Lee and he was so funny. He could be so funny. I've been in spaces with Lee where we were like laughing. We couldn't stop for like 15 minutes. He would hold his belly and he would laugh and laugh. He would laugh at himself, laugh at us. At this very moment when he was laughing, he was not seeing the horror of the situation. He was seeing the humor of the situation, which is the same thing. There is a little pictures that he drew and then a sentence, and it says, life is tragic, life is comical. He was saying it in French, pretty bad French, but life is tragic, life is comical. I recommend the comical. And we unconsciously choose the tragic, you know? For instance, so and so is bugging me. Oh my God. And we like go and go and go. We are obsessed with our selves, actually. And this self obsession is making us really heavy. And we observe ourselves. Oh my God. We are in the serious business of, I've done it again. I'm a mechanical machine. I'm sorry, guys. I have had an overdose. I have to tell you, I've had an overdose. I've had an overdose of being serious about this. I have found myself lately in dharmic spaces, bored to death, and just waiting for my clown class to start again in a few weeks. Because then I forget about this whole serious thing, taking our mind so seriously. You're laughing. It's not funny. I'm the first one who goes down the drain. Our energy goes down the drain with this seriousness, and we are destroying neural pathways. Can you imagine that? We are destroying neural pathways all day long when we actually could create new ones. Wow. What about that? Maybe the only way to co-create with God, there is this thing in New Age where you're co-creating with God. Maybe the only way to co-create with God is by bringing humor to the situation, because He gave us this wonderful brain and we are destroying it with our self-obsession. That's sad, you know? That's very sad. Anyway, let me see if I have another quote. So it's another quote from the book, The Voyage sur la diagonale du clown. The work of the clown is also an invitation to step aside. It encourages distancing oneself from one's own prejudices, stepping off the beaten path of conformity. As in any journey, the usual topography is disrupted. One must step out of the rut, slip, make detours, move forward diagonally. Je vais le lire en français après, hein, parce que elle est française, cette citation. Clown improvisation becomes a potential space to open oneself to a fundamental way of being, beyond or beneath conventions and constraints, in order to be free despite falls, awkwardness, misfortunes, and disabilities. So that's why I found this work with clown to be so interesting for practice. And again, I'm barely starting with this. I can see that it's going to give me some tools to live my life. And why didn't you come with a clown nose? It's not so much about that as it is to just step aside from my routine way of looking at things and looking at people, my habitual way of looking at situations that I find challenging or disturbing. It's about moving in a space diagonally inside of myself. And by practicing it doing on stage, I practice it bodily. It's not in my imagination, oh, I'm going to be diagonal now internally in my life. I want it to be a bodily experience. And maybe some of it will trickle in the way I am being. I don't know. Maybe I will continue to be a drag in my life, but normally a real clown, and there were many, many different types of clown, someone who has really mastered the way of humor, not humor as entertainment or humor to avoid reality or humor to stay in denial, like, ha ha ha, I was just kidding kind of humor. But the true art of humor is always humor at myself. The art of laughter is always laughter at myself first. It's never laughing at other people. It's laughing with other people because they're like me. And I laugh at myself. In one of these quotes, he's saying, like everything else, the comic spirit and perspective must be cultivated. Laughter and humor may be natural to the species, to the human species, but they do not automatically reach full flower or grace the whole of life. In some contexts, they may even be shunned or suppressed as inappropriate or left quite undeveloped. So we're talking about us. We may strive to develop kindness, compassion, generosity, service, clarity to understand the Dharma, patience, all this good stuff. Have we ever thought of cultivating laughter or lightness of being or the comic spirit in ourselves? In that book, The Comic Vision and the Christian Faith, he says that the baby becomes a real human when the baby starts to smile, which is at a very early age, maybe the first hour. The baby smiles. He's a human. He enters into the human realm. And then the baby will laugh very soon also. That's what makes the baby a human baby. I don't know if animal laughs. Maybe they laugh by mimicking. I know that chimpanzee may laugh when you laugh with them. They may learn to laugh. I think laughter can be learned. A dog can laugh, but would they laugh if there was no human? I don't know. And actually, the baby also smiles because he's being smiled at. If nobody smiles to the baby will not smile. So it's a grace that one offers the baby. We smile at the baby, we laugh at the baby, and it lightens his spirit. It makes it alive. But in our schools or in our talks or whatever, maybe laughter and humor can be even shunned or suppressed as inappropriate or left quite undeveloped. I remember we had so much fun. We had a self-observation intensive 2 years ago, and we were going to have a meditation. The bell was going to be rung by someone who is not used to ring the bell. So we were all sitting, we were going to be serious meditators. It was going to be a long meditation. And then he rings the bell, but he doesn't ring them correctly. And so a few people start to laugh. We basically laughed for 10 minutes. We couldn't stop. It was the best meditation ever. It was a great meditation. Every time we would calm down and try to meditate, we would start laughing again. And I'm sure the angels were, what a relief. It was lemonade for them, fresh lemonade. You understand? Fresh lemonade for us, for sure. Anyway. So we often think in our society of humor as an interlude, a playful interlude, justified in that it may help us let off a little steam now and then and provide a cheap vacation of the mind from which we will return to work more industriously and fight unquestioningly. Our fight against I don't know what. We are like Don Quixote. All the windmills are our thoughts, our opinions, and our certitudes. And we're like going to fight them all. And one laughter would be enough. Anyway, Yet the ability to see the humor in things or to create comic tales and rituals is among the most profound and imaginative of human achievements. Wow, cool. There is this myth in South Australia where one day there is this big frog who had drunk all the waters of the world. And so the people come to the frog and say, please give us back the water. And the frog would sit there imperturbably and wouldn't. They didn't know what to do, so they tried to convince it to no avail. And finally, the snake arrived and started to dance in a very comical way. And the frog tried to not laugh, but finally burst out laughing, and all the waters came out. And the water was given back to the Australian indigenous. So for the Australian, maybe the myth was about the water, but the myth can also be the seriousness of it dries up everything. And only a little bit of laughter will release the water so that our soul will be watered again. Our dry soul, dried up by too much seriousness and too much looking at the tragedy of life. The clown figure, the clown state, or the clown person deals with the opposite in human nature. So you can never say the clown is one thing. It's like the guru. You can never say the guru is that. No, the guru is also the opposite of that. So the clown is never this. It's this and it's contrary. And it can go back and forth between different attributes. The clown will be very, very angry, very, very angry, 200% angry. And then 200% very, very sad. Wiley Cipher, I don't know this man, but he speaks of the radiant peak of high comedy, where laughter is qualified by tolerance, criticism is motivated by a sympathy that comes only from wisdom. A victory is won over our absurdities at a cost of humility and in a spirit of charity and enlightenment. Without despair, without rancor, as if human blunders were seen from a godlike distance. So the radiant peak of high comedy is to see us from a very, very high distance. And from a high distance, there is only compassion and love. We see the absurdity, the buffers, for instance. Okay, the buffers. So someone will say something and act exactly the opposite 2 minutes later and not see at all the contradiction. When we see other people buffer, it's generally very aggravating, very annoying, and gosh, I can't believe this. Of course, we don't see our buffers. We don't see how we say one thing, do the opposite. We are one thing and we are the opposite. We are extremely petty and extremely generous the minute later. Or our ideal is unity and peace. And then we fight someone because they slammed the door at us or because they forgot to pick up their shoes on the way and we almost tripped. And we do not see the contradictions. And so what they say is that the clown works with these contradictions. And because he does or she does, the audience see that and see also the funny side of it. Can I, with a little bit of cultivation of lightness, see someone's buffers, see the contradiction, and smile at them? Smile at the situation. It's what we are. We are filled with buffers. Until we don't have buffers, we will have buffers. We will be laced with contradictions. And if we resent ourselves, our mechanicality, we are stuck. If we resent the other for their mechanicality, we haven't understood a thing about the work. We haven't understood a thing about human beings. We are like that, filled with contradictions, ignorant, petty, blind. Maybe we can have fun with that. I don't know. It's a question. Can we have fun with that? Can we look at the situation not from this is terrible, I need to practice and become a better person? Of course, we're working with self-observation, love without judgment, and underneath, we want to be a better person, which is good, which is normal. We want to be free and always kind to others, but we're not. What are we going to do? Maybe we need to give ourselves a break a little bit, Se donner un peu se pardonner un peu, quoi. Se lâcher un peu la grappe. To give oneself a break, se lâcher un peu la grappe. Actually, that could be a really good mantra. In French, it's tastier. Lâche-moi la grappe, tu veux? Like when we find ourselves thinking about a problem or a person, we could just tell our mind, give me a break. Just give me a break. Don't put this thing that we put in the mouth of a horse a bit. And we're trying to govern and control us and make us go the right way, straight to God. And maybe we can become friend with a horse. My sister, who works with horse a lot, she says that she trained to be on the horse and to tell the horse what she wants without touching the horse, without anything touching his mouth, just by speaking to the horse and maybe holding his encolure, just pushing him right and left. And after a while, there's a unity that becomes.
Do you know the film Mission Joy about the meeting of the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, the Archbishop of South Africa during the apartheid?
No.
If you want to see two children of God, you have to see them.
Okay.
They are two clowns and they appreciate one another so much. And they both got the Nobel Prize of Peace and did so much for suffering mankind.
We can also be easygoing, undisciplined, relaxed in situations where our attention is really needed. Languishing in context is a phrase that I've heard. And without a strong intention, maybe we'll not be able to find where the path leads. How do you reconcile that?
Well, we are talking of a very high art of comedy, not of laughter to avoid life. Because laughter can be used for many different purposes, in many different ways. And it's not made easy by the fact that there's so many comedian and stand-up comics right now. And we laugh at them. This is a relief. We laugh while they're talking, and it's good. We have a laugh. But we might take ourselves seriously the next moment as soon as we turn off the video screen or as soon as we leave the theater. So that kind of laughter is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about cultivating humor in a very high sense. It's not about lack of discipline or using humor in an inappropriate way to diffuse a very delicate chamber, for instance, or even humor laughing at people. In this book, he talks about different ways that humor can be used. That is not what he's talking about. He's talking about humor as a very divine, he doesn't talk in those terms, it's part of practice. Like, can I have an intention that is uncontaminated by false seriousness, by taking myself seriously? Can I have intention without putting myself in the center of every single thing? No, I don't think so, actually. There's something needs to be broadened in my perspective. It's not about being single-minded, serious. In my understanding, intention is not about that. Intention is a sense, it's a sensation, it's an intuition. But for that, I need to be uncontaminated by my over-concerned addiction to my own little person.
Real humor seems to bring some flexibility
Yes.
into our lives.
Yes. Not undisciplined. Flexibility, which is very different. It's not about laughing and goofing in the back of the class while everybody is working. It's not about that. It's about what all the teachers talk about, actually. Can you do something without bringing into it the whole personal history, what they call without the doer? I never understood that thing, doing without the doer. But the other day, I was thinking, like, can I do without Michelle's personal story about everything? Just do. Just like the clown. The clown doesn't have future and doesn't have past. What is past is past. The future doesn't exist. Only the present, but fully the present. When I had my little theatrics just before saying I'm tired, obviously the path is all I've got. I'm not about to throw it. I'm just about to enliven it. We all want to enliven it. How can we enliven it? We can enliven it with lots of different things. Studying, being more focused in our study, being more profound in our writing, being more attentive to each other, being more present to our rituals or our walks or our meditation or breathing, and learn the art of laughter because we need it, because or else our brain shrivel. They say so, the scientists say so. The brain shrivels, there is less neural connection, and we need neural connection if we want to develop intuitive mind, because that's what we want, right? We want to step out of the logical mind, this tyranny of the logical mind, and apprentice to the intuitive mind, the mind who receives the input, the download of love, some people call it, from the universe, from God. But we're so busy with our logical mind that want to make sense of everything that we actually don't practice. We're just becoming constipated with our energy, you know. Huh? I'm talking about becoming ordinary. Actually, the clown plays with the ordinary. The clown doesn't want to be a king, doesn't want to do wonderful things on stage, doesn't want to gain something and gain status. The clown is happy finding a little piece of straw on the ground. That is enough to get him going. That is enough. A piece of cloth, a laughter in the crowd, glancing someone, looking at a child in the audience is enough. So can our ordinary life be enough? That's what the clown is asking us or teaching us. Can breaking an egg in our ghee or butter be enough for wonderment? That's what I mean by bringing lightness into one's life. Instead of being there cooking, I'm cooking. I'm serious now, I'm cooking. I have done everything. I have lit the candles and I've cleaned my hands and I put my apron and I'm going to cook. Can I have fun?
I'm still thinking about humor. What's the root of humor? And I think one of the conditions for humor is losing the sense of importance, of self-importance. And I think that is a heavy load, that self-importance. And if you really can let it go in some moments or for longer, there is a great possibility for that kind of freedom that the clown is in. And for me, only a free human being who is deeply human can have that humor. Deeply human in the best sense. Just a human being.
Just a human being.
Yeah, with all the other human beings.
Yeah, in the interview that Moshe Cohen, the clown who worked with Bernie Glassman, gave, he doesn't talk about humor, he talks about lightness. And he said a sense of levity, of lightness, légèreté. He says, you have to source your sense of humor inside you. It's not that you become clown and you bring this clown image on stage. It's not about that. It's what is this energy in you that creates laughter, that is funny, and that you want to share. And he believes that everyone has that. Everyone has in them a part that is really funny and oftentimes is very repressed. It has been repressed in childhood and in the school system and in the adults. And after that, it's an unspoken agreement. We are all serious adults and we need to show up as serious adults. So what is this energy in you? That's a good question. Where is it? How do we express it? How do you express that funny energy in you without words, which is one of the clown's challenge? There's no words. Not necessarily. There can be words, but oftentimes there is no words. It all happens with this sensitivity. It's all very unlinear. Words actually get in the way of the funny because humor is a sense, a sensation. It's coming out of your creative sphere, not out of your logical mind. For anyone who tries to let go of their logical mind, lightfulness is helpful. Bernie was saying, my students take themselves too seriously, this self-importance that you're talking about, and become arrogant with their level of masterdom. And I need to change that, to break that. I don't want to hit them over with a hammer. You don't want to use cutting humor, which is hurtful and not necessarily the best way about making people aware of what is going wrong. That is a very important sentence. He said, I don't want to attack their seriousness. I don't want to beat them over the head with that, because it wouldn't be necessarily the best way to make them aware of what's going wrong. That would probably make them defended, more defended. Can I do that with humor instead? So he found that to bring humor into the midst was going to help his students work with themselves differently. He says most of us are internally listening to our logical mind, but we need to let intuition take over. Taking the time, allowing yourself to become aware of your sensations and giving them some value. Wow, giving them some value. When we talk about self-observation, yes, it's about bringing the attention on the breath and sensation and give them some value. Treasure them, really feel them, not because it says that you should, but because it's all you've got. It's all you have. It's your instrument. It's all you have. In another quote, I was saying, the violinist plays the violin, the clown plays himself. The violinist plays the violin, the practitioner plays himself. That's all we've got to practice is ourselves. Our sensations will tell us everything because sensations is the path to intuition. If you realize that you are frustrated, for instance, once you realize it, you can work with it. You can invite lightness, for instance, into that frustration. As a clown, playing with frustration on stage elicits a lot of laughter because laughter is a catharsis, a release of tensions we hold, of stress. And then the guy asks, how do you bring clown energy into your daily life when there is heaviness? Listen to this. I just take a breath. And as I do that, I invite lightness into my awareness. It is that simple. And it's the same. I'm going to bring that in my class. I'm having a clown class tomorrow, and I'm going to bring this thing on stage. I can invite, I could just take a breath because you enter on stage and you identify it, of course. It's kind of stressful. People are looking at you and you're on stage. You're like on the spot. And so I forget about everything. I clown, I play around, but the clown doesn't forget that he's a clown, the performer. He always has a distance with what he does. So I'm going to really be with that person and not identify with that person or with myself being with that person. I'm going to take a step. I'm going to bring a little lightness into my attitude with the situation. And to that, I just take a breath. And as I do that, I invite lightness into my awareness. What am I doing when I do that? Lightness creates connections in the nervous system. That again. So I am trying to build a neural pathway. You make that road easier to travel on every time you do that, more available. Breath is a powerful tool. And he says later that intuition is a very subtle thing. And to develop intuition, here, it must be light. If it's laden with concern over oneself or over the way we are treated or the way people treated us in the past, or we might be treated in the future, this is a huge weight on our mind. And we want to have a free mind, like the big mind with a capital M. We want to have a mind free to travel fast, not like an ox laden with the heaviness of self-importance.
Sur YouTube, actuellement, un documentaire sur un grand clown américain qui s'appelle Jim Carrey et qui a complètement intégré la spiritualité et qui a touché la spiritualité avec tout ce qu'il a travaillé en tant que clown et acteur. Et c'est vraiment toute sa vie dont il parle. Je pense qu'il a travaillé avec Eckhart Tolle et c'est vraiment très intéressant à regarder.
She's talking about Jim Carrey, the actor. He has worked with Eckhart Tolle. He's giving an interview and talking about his life and how he has integrated as a practitioner spirituality into his work of clown and comic. Oh my God, it's 7. So breathe. Oh, let's breathe.
Build those neural pathways.
Yeah, let's build them up.